Okay, here we are in the fresh scene. I made a couple of objects for this demonstration, and we will talk about solving triangles and angles to desirable quad four-sided polygons. Okay, here under filter menu I have grid disabled, it's kind of in the way, and I have these angle lines enabled. Okay, also under display menu, right to the left, I have this wireframe mode enabled. And solving triangles is really a challenging task while modeling. Okay, so you want to know how to solve any situation that it will be presented to you. Okay, so I'll reveal these other objects as we progress through this lesson. This lesson is really important. Okay, we have a triangle right here. Well, the first thought, and it will be really logical, and it works in some situation, is with our slide tool, simply slide and hold down the control key to build to the next point. Okay, and we solved our triangle. Okay, but what if you simply can't do that? Let me undo that. Why? Well, maybe you have to maintain those edges, because here on this side of geometry is something important, or you will destroy the edge flow, and you simply cannot do that. Okay, what then? Well, the other thing that pops to mind, well, maybe I can subdivide this triangle somehow to get all quads. Well, you can do that, but you will always create angles on your neighboring faces. Always. So for example, if I now go to edge mode and delete this guy here, to be exact, I want to melt this guy. Okay, and now you can see this polygon turned black. This will be problematic, because this is exactly what I was talking about. This is an artifact, and it will be problematic in the render, and problematic while you subdivide your mesh with hypernerve. So to resolve that, you have to move this point or any of those points that lie on the same plane somewhere else. You can do that automatically with your brush tool. I'm pressing now M and C, and here you see I have some settings arranged, like strength is only 10%, radius is 20 meters, and it's in the smooth mode. So I can basically smooth out this, even though this is technically a quad four-sided polygon. It can produce problems, okay? But this is not good enough, because we now, to solve this, we have to add additional geometry from our points to prevent these angles from happening. Okay, let me undo that. Okay, here we are back at the start. So anyway you put it, there is no way you can subdivide the triangle or angle for itself without creating additional angles or triangles in your neighboring geometry. So you must resolve this in the next manner. The most logical thing is to terminate this edge with another vertex next all the way to the boundary of geometry. So now if we brush this a little, you'll see we have a nice quad geometry again. Okay, and that would work also in this direction and also in this direction. But what if we simply cannot reach the boundary of our geometry, or it is too far, or there is some problem preventing us from doing that? For example, maybe we could possibly destroy our edge flow on that geometry where we connect this terminating edge. Well, the only solution is to make this one triangle to disappear, is to create another one. Okay, so for example, we can create the knife tool, we can create another triangle, and even if we delete this edge here, I will melt it, UZ, we have a quad here, but we also have another triangle here, so we basically can only move the problem to somewhere where you can terminate it on the edge, or you will have to create another triangle somewhere else. Okay, so let me hide this object to show you that this second example. Well, here I have two triangles. Well, that's basically the same as this first example, but I just have two triangles. Okay, one of the ways would be to, let's say, create a completely new edge that will create this triangle a quad, and also terminate it here where it will create a quad right here on this triangle. Okay, so let's do that. And now we have a situation here because we have some angles. Okay, we can now, for example, melt this edge here, and simply with our slide tool, point mode, we can slide and weld these 2 points, and we will get a quad. You can do that on the other side also, but that's a bit clumsy, but it works better than, let me undo this a few times, it works better than this solution that I will show you right now. So another solution is to create a knife cut from this bottom vertices to this also bottom vertex, and in the edge mode simply melt those two. Well, you certainly feel this is a much more easier way, but sometimes the first method is much better, and you will see that in your modeling process. Let me hide now this object, okay, and unhide this, and I can press the S key and I will center my current selected object. Okay, here we are presented with a rather big problem. We have a, let's say, a disk with many sides, and all geometry on the disk is a triangle, and we have to solve that because we possibly want to subdivide that object later. First thing is to bevel this point right here. Some of you may be asking, where is my axis? Well, I hit it with Alt D, so I'll do that again, Alt D. It's always nice to know that, and sometimes axis can be in the way. And now I want to bevel this point. I'll do the reset values here, and I will simply bevel it a bit. Okay, now we have a real mess. The geometry is at least say a complete disaster, but we can solve that easily. We can go to our edge mode and do a loop selection here. So now there is a neat feature I already showed you about selecting. So we will fill a selection. We created a termination line, so we can do UF and fill that selection in between and simply delete it. Well, now some of you might ask, well, what the hell? But we have to fill this surface, because otherwise what's the purpose? So let's go to our bridge tool and simply connect some edges. Okay, we go to edge mode. Now let me deselect all and simply connect those edges manually. Okay, there is always some manual work while you're modeling. You see here now, instead of adding this or breaching these connections, I will just select this nice close polygon hole tool here and here, and I will close these holes. Well, as you can see, we have an angle, but if you look closely, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, and if we just divide that with our knife tool, we will get nice and clean quad geometry. Okay, for this technique to work, you have to have the even amount of vertices, so even, not odd amount. Okay, let me hide this object and we can go to our next one. Here I'll once again press the S key, and here we have a really messy geometry, really problematic. Okay, so although as it looks complicated to solve, it's not. You can, for example, with your live selection tool, solve this triangle by selecting all these points and simply collapse them in one point. There is a nice function here called collapse, and I'll utilize the shortcut key, that's U and C, and now you can see it collapsed all those points to one, and we have again a nice flow. Okay, it's a really nifty tool. Here we have a bit more complex situation, but also sometimes this collapse tool can do miracles. So once again, U, C, and it collapsed all points into one. So now you can even remove these unnecessary edges here, pressing the shift key to add to selection, and I will simply melt them. Okay, you see, and we once again have a clean mesh. Okay, I could have probably here built a zillion of examples and even show you how to change your flows in the geometry, but really what I want to do now is to talk about another method of modeling, C4D, which is modeling with splines, and after that we will actually do some complex modeling. Okay, so see you in the next lesson.